Today we're going to show how we use this chemistry test set to measure water quality. There's a pipette there, a squeezable pipette. We squeeze some water out of the tank, put it in that test tube you see lying there, and the little white line on there is 5 milliliters. We're going to test again for ammonia, nitrite, and nitrate. It's as simple as that. Now for the water samples. Oh yes. Okay, here's the squeezable pipette. Squeeze it and it takes out a few milliliters. Take a sample for each test that we're going to do. Now we're bringing it up to 5 milliliters. That's all there is to it. I don't remember a lot about chemistry. One thing the guy taught us was a little rhyme. It went like this: Johnny was a chemist, but Johnny is no more. For what he thought was H2O was H2SO4. If you remember, H2SO4 is the chemical formula for sulfuric acid, one of the stronger acids that you can get. So, we're not at that level with this chemistry set. I'm going to add 6 drops. You see, I'll get a close-up of this, but it's turning yellow. All right. Now we get the handy chart and we make the comparison. How yellow did it turn? Well, look at that. It's upwards of, right here, roughly 5 parts per million, which is the goal. They suggest that you try to keep the level at 5 parts per million and then let the bacteria work it down. So earlier I measured 2.5, roughly half this. Then I added 20 drops of ammonia for, like the day's input of ammonia from, if you've got fish in there, they're going to have their excrement and that'll add ammonia to the water. So now here's some half hour later, the ammonia concentration is already back up to 5. So let's see what happened as far as the nitrite. All right, we'll add 5 drops of this one. 5. And 5 drops of the number 2 reagent. Now, this one takes 2 minutes before it fully develops. The ammonium test turned immediately to the color that it's going to be, but this one will wait a couple minutes before we get the results. Okay, we're at day 13 in our conditioning of the water for my new aquarium. You see that the ammonia test is now 0.0. There's no color at all, and on the chart, of course, it reads 0 parts per million. I mean, even a tiny bit would be a half part per million. So it's clearing up. The nitrification cycle is taking hold. The bacteria are well established. And now in the nitrite testing, I get 3.3, which is the maximum. See how dark that is now? It doesn't go any higher than 3.3 in the little test kit that I have. So it's soaring up to the high levels that show on the charts that they call typical. And so I'm well on my way to establishing the nitrogen cycle. Soon I'll be testing for nitrates. Maybe I'll do that today, and we'll see a little later how that turns out. Maybe that's starting already. This might be a fast cycle, because I did add the this bacteria that's packaged by Nutrifin, and that enhances the effort. Well, this is my first attempt at nitrate testing, NO3. The book says if there's high levels of nitrite, which I have right now, it'll interfere with the testing of nitrates, the NO3. According to this, it's like 110 parts per million. But it's early in the cycle. The nitrites are high. If there's nitrate, I don't know, because this test, of course, is then masked by the high levels of nitrites. Guess what? New test. We're going to check for pH. That's the one that said, are we on the acid side or the alkaline side? All right. Let me do this one. This is 4 drops of reagent. 1, 2, 3, 4. Changes right away, just like the ammonia test. I'll shake her up and make a test here. Look at that. Maybe that's 7.5. What do you think? As I look through the viewfinder here, it's a little hard to... Maybe it's more by... This is between 7.5 and 8. That second one there. Maybe that's more like it. Hard to tell. It's a little lighter than that. Okay, so here's a familiar chart you might remember from high school chemistry. The pH chart showing the acids below 7 and the alkaline properties above 7. So we were pretty close to neutral with the test that I made. My water is in pretty good shape pH-wise. As with all these tests, it's rather hard to interpret the exact amount, but the idea is to know where you are with regard to a, let's say, a peak versus a almost zero condition. And that's pretty easy to interpret.